Good evening. The Delhi police have moved the High Court appealing against the discharge of Congress leader Shashi Tharoor and the death of his late wife, Sunanda Pushkar. The court had over a year ago discharged him, saying that there is no evidence that he was actively involved in any kind of conspiracy to kill his wife. The Congress party has hit back, saying that this is nothing but a witch hunt. What is the basis for the case against Shashi Tharoor? I'll be speaking to the man who started this all, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. But before that, the story of the day so far. First go across to the man who started this all, basis whose complaint this whole case was registered against Shashi Tharoor. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, former Member of Parliament of the BJP, is now joining us. Dr. Swamy, thank you very much for speaking with us. First things first, like I said, it started with your moving the Delhi police and asking them for a probe into Shashi Tharoor's late wife's death. It took 7 years for the discharge case against Tharoor to happen in the first place, and earlier last year, the Delhi court had discharged him, saying that there is want of evidence. Now, 15 months later, the Delhi police have approached the court again. Many are saying they've dug up this case again. What is exactly the end game here? Because what new has the police found in terms of the last 15 months to warrant going back to the court asking for an appeal against the discharge?
Well, the Delhi police has gone in appeal against the order in the lower court, and but the question is right. You have asked a correct question. Why did they say it takes so long to wake up to after having gone to the upper court and filed an appeal against the lower court's orders? Why did you take so long to go back and start the proceedings?
Now, back when the lower court had discharged Mr. Tharoor from the trial of the death of his late wife, the court had cited, and I quote, an absence of specific allegations and sufficient material to warrant that he was in any kind of conspiracy to eliminate his wife. So my question is, what has changed between then and now, between the discharge that happened a year and a half ago and the need to go back to the High Court now and ask for an appeal against that discharge?
Well, I don't. Then it must mean that Delhi police didn't present what should have been presented. One was the autopsy report of the All India Medical Institute, which showed lots of marks on her body, an injection hole in her arm, which showed that perhaps she was also given a poison needle, and she had put up a fight. It was also very clear. What was the reason? Why was she in a hotel, 5-7-star hotel? How could this happen in what appears to be 11 o'clock in the morning?
But Dr. Swamy, tell me this. You talked about the AIIMS autopsy board, or even the statement that was given by Sunanda Pushkar's son. In none of this, was there any kind of material evidence that her death be treated as some kind of a homicide? So again, I keep going back to this. If neither the autopsy is saying this, nor her closest family members are alleging homicide, then on what basis is the Delhi police trying to revisit this case, or at least appealing to revisit this case?
All India Medical Institute, they gave no such report. I've read that report. I know the forensic department's head, and I've spoken to him also. They all said it was clearly a case of murder. And in fact, the FIR was registered only after the All India Medical Institute gave this kind of a thing. This is false. Yes, his son, her son rather,
Yeah.
he ditched her mother. That's a different matter. That can be investigated separately. Why he did that when he was not even in the scene? How could he say that it is not murder sitting in Dubai? So I think there was a lot of attempts to save Shashi Tharoor. I hope now the justice will be dealt for Sunanda Pushkar.
Okay. Dr. Swami, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how the courts take up this matter and whether they find grounds for the appeal that's been moved by the Delhi police. Let me now go across to PK Jain, former IPS officer, who is joining us. Ashpreet Kadial is Congress Party spokesperson. Kapil Sankla, lawyer at the Supreme Court, and Sumansi Raman, political analyst, joining us as well. PK Jain, let me start with you first. Is it normal that in such a high-profile case, the death of the wife of a former minister, a three-time parliamentarian, such a high-profile case that was in the media limelight for a many number of years, is it the normal course of time, 15 months, or has there been an inordinate delay in the Delhi police approaching the courts for an appeal in this case?
Well, this is an inordinate delay. There's no justification for this kind of a delay. They should have gone to the court in appeal much earlier in point of time. The delays like this do cause a tremendous amount of damage to the case and the veracity of the case. So there is delay, but all said and done, delay apart, that cannot nullify or neutralize the very fact that there was some prima facie evidence in the case, and the case was charged. There was no reason for Mr. Tharoor to be discharged in this case. And the case should have gone on. The case should have seen the light of the day. It should have been taken to its logical end. And now I'm sure that the High Court will certainly look into all these points, the issues raised by the Delhi Police investigating officer.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the discharge application would be set aside.
So, Kapil Sankla, you heard from a former IPS officer. Yes, the delay has been inordinate, and that generally is detrimental to the appeal itself. But aside of the delay, the question that's being asked by Congress Party and people close to Shashi Tharoor is, why this witch hunt? You go back to what the court said, that there was no material evidence to charge him for any kind of conspiracy or abetment to homicide that happened to his wife allegedly. There was nothing, materially against Shashi Tharoor. So the charge that's being leveled is that the Delhi police is doing this for political purposes, and there are political motivations behind this appeal, coming as it does 15 months after the discharge.
Well, the converse can equally be true, isn't it? That the Delhi police delayed the matter till kingdom come for reasons best known, and thereafter filed a belated application before the High Court. That also could be true. So there are two versions before you. And as far as delay being usually detrimental, no, that's not really correct. Delay is detrimental. A condonation or delay application has to be filed, and cogent reasons have to be given. The Honorable High Court and Supreme Court, in a number of cases, especially in criminal matters, have stated time and again that liberal interpretation has to be given, because the purpose of criminal investigation and criminal trial is justice. And just because of just kind of these dilatory tactics, etc., benefit should not be given to the accused. So as far as the first part is concerned about delay, it is neither here nor there. Yes, the prosecution or the police does have to justify the delay, and I think the condonation or delay application is there. Notice has been issued on that. Now, as far as whether it's a politically motivated application or not, as I said, the converse is equally true. And the question is this, that how come the investigation at this stage not bring anything at all to show a prima facie case? Because the 306 case, abetment to suicide, has a very large bandwidth. That I am the lawyer for Mr. Kanda in the Gitika case as well. And the difficulty that we're facing there is that our client hadn't had a word with the deceased, unfortunately, for last 6 months. And despite that, when she committed suicide, she named him in the suicide note. And there are evidences to show that he hadn't even had a word with her for 6 months or 10 months or something like that. So, as I said, the leeway in 306 is very wide. All that you have to show is that you did some act at some stage that probably pushed the person to commit suicide.
No,
Here
so
there are cases
Ashpreet
that there are certain
Kadyal,
body
delay
marks,
aside, and whatever reasons the Delhi police had for that delay, they'll have to explain to court as to why they took 15 months. But delay aside, is there any other material reason for why you doubt the Delhi police's integrity or the Delhi police's intentions in this matter? Because at the end of the day, this is another routine case. It has to go through the layers of appeal for the case to be finally closed. They believe there is material case against Mr. Tharoor. You may have a different point of view, but a right of appeal is a right given under law.
Thank you. Kindly allow me an uninterrupted minute. First of all, this is not an appeal, it's a revision. Number two, when we have courts to do justice, why are certain people, especially of the Bharatiya Janata Party, becoming judge, jury, and executioner? Number three, the courts have already discharged Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Therefore, even what the Honorable High Court is considering as of now is the condonation of delay, if delay has to be condoned or not, which is inordinate. It cannot be explained. There is no justification to that. 15 months is a lot of time. Number three, the matter is sub judice. I happen to be a lawyer myself. There are other lawyers on the panel. So if a matter is sub judice, are we even supposed to discuss it, debate upon it? The court had taken strong exception to trial by media and therefore had asserted that no copies are to be given to anyone but the parties concerned with the case. Nevertheless, we are having a trial by media. Number five, it's been found by the court already.
One second. Ashpreet, one second. Nowhere has any court, as far as Mr. Tharoor's matter is concerned, in the last 15 months since he got discharged, nowhere has any court said that the media should not discuss this matter. There is no injunction or stay order of any kind saying that the media should not discuss this matter. And secondly, if you have noticed the tone and tenor of this discussion, we are again asking the Delhi police, why the inordinate delay? Are you saying that we can't discuss things in this country? I mean, this is after all a high-profile case. Mr. Tharoor is an extremely media-savvy figure. So was his late wife. It was there all over the news for the last, when it happened in 2014. And even when the court discharged him the year before last, we covered that as well. We covered that pretty extensively. So, pending any court injunction, I don't see any merit in this media trial argument.
Two things to that. First, there does not have to be an injunction. There does not have to be an order. When the matter is sub judice, the matter is being decided by the court. Nobody but the court is supposed to have opinions on it, is supposed to discuss it, is supposed to
what are you saying? As a lawyer, I'm amazed you've taken this argument, Ashpreet. Ram Janmabhoomi matter went on for 30 years.
If you would allow me the
30 years. Are you telling me media was not discussing it for 30 years?
Now, would you allow me the time?
Aftab case has happened for the last 3 weeks.
What the court says.
Pending an injunction or a stay by any court, we're all discussing that story.
So now, are you saying that when matter is
discussion?
No, there is no bar on any discussion. Please, there is no bar on any discussion. As a lawyer, I'm amazed. Again, I'm sorry.
I am amazed that
No, I'm amazed that you don't know this basic point of law that unless there is an express injunction or stay, unless there is an express injunction or stay, there is no bar on the media from discussing any matter that is sub judice. Please.
The matter is sub judice, nobody is supposed
Sir, what are you saying? 2G case went in the courts for a number of years. Are you saying the media did not discuss it? What are you saying?
Now allow me the time to answer.
Ashpreet, either you make cogent points. One second, Ashpreet. Either you make cogent legal arguments, or you face the facts when other panelists and other members who are on this panel who confront you with the facts. No, I'm sorry. Either you make cogent arguments or you please face up to the facts. You said that media should not discuss any case that is sub judice. I gave you an example of Ram Janmabhoomi matter, went on for 30 years. Gyanvapi matter has been going on for the last 3 months. Aftab Shraddha case has been in the courts for the last 3 weeks. Media has been discussing it. The only instance where media is not allowed to discuss a particular case if there is an express injunction or stay by a court of law. In this case, there is no injunction or stay. And the moment there is an injunction or stay, we will stop discussing it.
It has been
Come on, as a
assassinated by
lawyer,
the
I'm
High Court.
appalled
The
that you don't even know this
parties.
basic fact.
It is unfortunate that
No,
you're
no,
making
as
a
a
mockery of
lawyer,
justice.
Ashpreet,
It is
I'm really
unfortunate that
sad.
you
It
don't
saddens
understand the
me
basic
that you don't
principles.
know this
It is
basic fact.
unfortunate
That
that
unless there is an
today,
express stay or
it is
injunction,
unfortunate that
media
Godi
is
media wants
free
to
to
have trial
discuss
by
any
media
court
nowadays.
case, any matter that is sub
Godi
judice.
media wants to have trial by
Sir,
media.
please
Now, Godi media wants to have
don't
trial
go
by
into
media.
innuendo.
Number
You
two,
put out a
when a matter
blatantly
is sub judice,
untrue
you're not supposed
statement
to
on the
debate it.
panel.
When a
You were
matter is sub judice,
confronted by
you're not
other
supposed to debate
panelists
it.
and the
Simple as that.
anchor
If you do not
blowing
understand,
holes in that theory.
I can
Now
only be sorry
you
for
don't go
you,
calling
Zakka.
names, yaar.
I
Come
can
on,
only be
Ashpreet,
sorry for
please.
you.
Don't
Number
call
two,
names. Come on,
it is
please.
unfortunate.
I'm not going to
That you don't
descend to
understand what
that
the
level
definition of
of
sub judice
calling
is.
people names
Number
just
four,
because your argument got
now
blown
the
out of the
Honorable
water.
Court,
Let me
hear
go to the
out
next guest, please.
Now
Let me go to
please read
Sumant
what
Raman.
sub judice
Sumant
is.
Raman,
Please
I want
read
to
what
ask a
sub
very
judice means.
simple question. Yes, there is an inordinate delay, and as the lawyers on the panel have explained, the Delhi police has to explain in court why there was an inordinate delay. Beyond that, is there any material argument to argue against the Delhi police going in appeal or asking for a revision of the discharge of Mr. Shashi Tharoor?
No, I think Zakka, even in the original trial, there was very clearly a case of lack of any specific evidence to say that Shashi Tharoor contributed to the abetment to suicide or whatever the charges he was accused of, or caused cruelty to his wife. Now, that is the fundamental issue. So unless the Delhi police have suddenly unearthed some new evidence which they did not tell the trial court earlier, it makes zero sense except as a political vendetta option to sort of reopen this case and appeal. Now, the Delhi police says, look, we've now got evidence, of abetment to suicide, which we did not have at the stage of the trial court. That makes sense. But to argue the same case, which has quite clearly been, dealt with, and Mr. Tharoor has been completely discharged. I think that
No,
obviously
we don't know
conclusion
that yet.
CPS
Sumant, we don't know that yet. They have to make
no,
that case.
What
They
was
have
the
to make
previous?
that case in
been
the High Court.
discharged already.
No, one second. They have to
Zakka,
make that case in the High
your
Court. Ashpreet, is your
non-understanding of the
name
law,
Sumant Raman?
your
Ashpreet, is
non-understanding
your
of
name
the
Sumant
law
Raman?
makes
Have
me
some
One second.
patience.
feel
Please hold your
sorry for you,
horses.
Zakka.
Let me
You
go
have
to
no
Sumant
Yes,
Raman.
can I
Please,
finish?
please.
Can I
He's a little
finish?
more elderly and wise than you. So
Please,
please give him that courtesy.
Please,
Please extend the courtesy to Sumant Raman.
I
One
did not
second. Sumant,
interrupt
I'm
this
asking a
gentleman. I
simple
don't know why
question.
he's interrupting
It
me.
is
Yeah.
incumbent on the Delhi police to prove in court as to why this matter should be taken a fresh look at. They have to prove, the onus is on the investigating agency to prove to the court that there is material evidence to reopen this case. They have to make that case. They've not made that case yet.
Yes. No. The point really is, Zakka, that look at the logic of the whole thing. This is a matter that happened in the death of Sunanda Pushkar happened in 2014. We are now 8 years later in 2022.
Correct.
The trial has gone on for a substantial period, and a judgment has been arrived at. Now, 1.5 years or 15 months, the police does nothing. Now, what could be potentially the reason for the delay is something we need to speculate. But more importantly, look at it from a perspective of potentially any court looking at this matter when somebody goes on appeal 15 months later, obvious or revision 15 months later. At the end of the day, unless there is clinching evidence, there is no way that this is going to work.
Okay.
And sadly, to me, it seems like more an attempt to keep the sword of Damocles hanging on Shashi Tharoor.
Okay, so the Damocles sword is being
No,
hung
not only
on
that, not
Shashi
only
Tharoor's
Zakka, not only
head.
Zakka, we
Okay.
can do debates, and there will be people who say, did Shashi Tharoor murder his wife? And all this kind of thing which allows you to defame and slander Shashi Tharoor for another couple of years.
No,
What that
one
would
second.
gain-
One
who
second.
stands to gain by that
Again,
is
I go
very
back to
sad.
2 points. One second. 2 points. One, if any court of law, including the Delhi High Court who's been moved today, if they say media, there is an injunction or a stay from discussing this case, the next day, the very next moment, all media will stop discussing this case. Number one. Number two, talking about the defaming of Mr. Tharoor, I don't think that's accurate at all, because even after this case, no, 1 second, even after this case, even after this, 1 second, Sumant, have the patience to listen, Napa. Even after this case came to light, even after quote unquote so-called media trial, he won 2 more elections from the constituency
No.
of Thiruvananthapuram. He won in 2014, he won in 2019.
No, that is
So,
not the point.
where is the
Zakka.
question of
That is not the-
defaming?
No.
No,
This
where is the question of defaming?
Of course, there is a question
No,
of defaming.
How?
Am I saying?
How is Dr. Tharoor being defamed if
Dr. Tharoor
after this case
is
came,
being-
after this so-called media trial, he has still won elections?
Maybe the defaming prevented him from becoming the president of the Congress party. I'm
No,
throwing an argument
no,
at you.
no,
Don't
come
do
on,
that.
come
Don't do
on,
that.
no.
Why come on?
I think that
Why
is
come on?
a
Defamation is
different
not linked
ball
to-
game altogether.
Zakka, one second.
Look,
Zakka, one
you and
second.
I both
Zakka,
know
one
there were
second.
different forces at play there.
One second,
But
Zakka.
nothing to do
Because
with the
you
case
said-
or nothing to do
one
with,
second,
you know, so-called
Zakka,
media trial. There were
Zakka,
different
you
political
said-
factors
no,
there
one
at play.
second.
Let's not
Zakka,
get into
Zakka,
that.
one second.
Okay, quickly.
If you're
I got to wrap
saying-
up. Yeah.
If you're saying defamation is to be measured only in terms of political consequences in one constituency, I'm sorry, I disagree. He has been defamed across the country, across the
No,
world,
one
because
second.
he's a literary figure known far beyond the borders of India.
I have
So
a very,
please
very simple.
don't
There
say
is a
he won the
law,
local
there is a
election, he won the
provision of
parliamentary election, so
law
there's no
which
defamation.
deals with criminal defamation. There are n number of cases that have gone into that matter. Anyway, this case is not about defamation. Let me go back to Kapil Sankla and please answer the question that both Ashpreet was asking as well as, of course, Mr. Sumant Raman was asking. There are no witnesses to this crime, alleged crime. There is no one in the family of Sunanda or their friends or anyone who is saying that Shashi Tharoor was the reason she committed quote-unquote suicide, if at all it is a case of suicide and abetment to suicide. And number 3, most importantly, the time since this incident happened, 2014, today is 2022. What material evidence may come in the hands of the Delhi police now, 8 years after this quote-unquote said incident happened, that may change the nature of the discharge or the nature of the conclusion that the lower court came to vis-a-vis Mr. Tharoor?
Please allow me to answer this as a lawyer, which I am. You see, as far as the matter is concerned in the High Court, it's a revision petition, and revision argued purely on law. It is not really argued on facts. Unless and until some new facts and cogent facts are brought in. My understanding is that there were ample evidences that were filed with the charge sheet by the police. However, the trial court did not appreciate the nature of the evidence, saying that these are circumstantial in nature and probably the links are not too well connected, giving the benefit to Dr. Tharoor. I understand that. I appreciate that. You would see the exception here. There are 2 exceptions. One, the trial actually did not commence. For 7.5 years, the matter was lingering on only on the argument on charge, which is an exception to the general rule. And after 7.5 years, Dr. Tharoor was discharged, which is again an exception.
Yeah.
Of the lakhs and lakhs cases, only I think a couple of them get discharged without trial, without evidences being led. And in cases which are circumstantial in nature, you might not have clinching evidence, but you might have witnesses which are like the links to a chain that leads to guilt of an accused. So usually what happens is that a chance is given to the prosecution to bring their case before the court. Probably this was a very big case. Probably the court was cogent of the fact that Dr. Tharoor is a person of national fame. Probably decided that 7.5 years is too much time. That's all right. But you have to bring this before the court in the High Court for it to appreciate in revision. And the second exception is that
I'm completely out of time. Sorry about it. Thank you very much to all our guests.